Are you anxious about your cancer coming back? Well, here is exactly what you need to know to be free from the fear and anxiety of a cancer recurrence. In this video, I'm showing you 6 strategies that have been proven to help you escape from the fear of a cancer recurrence. But there's actually bad news. If you don't do something to get rid of the fear of a cancer recurrence, then that fear might never go away. Time does not heal all wounds. But there's good news. There are really clear and easy strategies you can start today to be free of the fear of a cancer recurrence. I'm showing you exactly where to start. But first, you need to know that you are so not alone. Being scared that your cancer might come back is completely normal. About half of cancer survivors really struggle with the fear of a cancer recurrence. And most cancer survivors say that they are not given any tools to help navigate this fear of recurrence after they finish treatment, which is crazy because during cancer treatment, you're given support every step of the way. Scans, blood draws, follow-up appointments. But then on the other side of treatment, when everything is done, you're given almost no support at all, which is so frustrating because over half of survivors are really struggling with this fear of recurrence. We need more support. That's exactly why I'm giving you these clear step-by-step strategies right now. As a cancer survivor myself, I know that these feelings can be overwhelming and really dark. Every single day, you are plagued with the thought of your cancer coming back. It heavily impacts your life after cancer. Here you are, cancer-free. You're supposed to be living this amazing cancer-free life. But the fear of your cancer coming back is like a dark cloud that swallows everything up. You're unable to truly enjoy living because you're so focused on the what ifs of cancer. Now, a lot of cancer survivors feel triggered by different things. There are a few common threads throughout. The first one being follow-up scans. You might feel like you're living your life scan to scan, 3 or 6 months at a time. It's almost impossible to plan anything until that next scan is done because you don't know what the results are going to be, and you don't know if your life's going to be completely and totally derailed. But you also might be triggered by anniversary dates. I know for me, for several years after my diagnosis, I really struggled around the anniversary of the date where I was diagnosed. It can also be really triggering if someone you know gets cancer, or if a cancer survivor that you know has a reoccurrence. This can all be triggering and make you feel like your cancer might be coming back. But for me, and it might be the same for you, my biggest trigger was random aches or pains. If you feel a pain in your back or on your side, you automatically think your cancer must be coming back. When in reality, it's actually more likely to be a sore muscle or something completely and totally harmless. But as a cancer survivor, we're so quick to jump to a cancer recurrence. But the problem is, if you don't address the fear of a cancer recurrence, it can end up being pretty scary. Many cancer survivors end up blaming themselves. You might feel like somehow you caused your cancer, like you did something in terms of what you ate, your stress level, or the different chemicals you exposed yourself to. You might end up really struggling with the weight of this self-guilt or self-blame. Or maybe you're using avoidance to cope, either skipping appointments or follow-up scans, or refusing to connect with someone who has cancer. In the worst situation, cancer survivors can turn to some really unhealthy habits to help cope with the fear of recurrence. This could look like relying on alcohol or food to help you cope with those feelings. And of course, you know that overeating or indulging in alcohol, well, that can actually increase your risk of a cancer recurrence. So by trying to cope with these feelings, you're actually putting yourself in a position where you're more likely to have a cancer recurrence. Okay, but here's what you can do to be free of the fear of a cancer recurrence. If you want to escape the anxiety and fear, then here are 6 strategies you can start using today. Starting with number 1, recognize your triggers. We're all triggered by different things after cancer. The first step is to recognize your own unique triggers. Is it appointments? Is it scans? Is it going back to the hospital? A breast cancer survivor that I work with in the Cancer Freedom Program, she was really triggered by the bag she took to chemotherapy appointments. She had one bag that she would always pack full of snacks or things to do while she was getting IV chemo, and now that bag was triggering her fear of a cancer recurrence. So once you identify your triggers, you can start to navigate them. The first thing that you can do is just remove them. In the case of a bag, you can just donate it or throw it out. There, it's gone. You won't be triggered by it anymore. But removing triggers doesn't always work. If you're triggered by something like a follow-up scan or going back to the hospital, then you can't really remove that. You need to go to the follow-up scans. You need to see your oncologist. So instead, you could try exposure therapy. This would be taking the time to visualize what it's like to go into the hospital, in for the scan. You can envision what it looks like, what it feels like, even what it smells like. Practice this at home. Go to a calm, safe area of your house and slowly go through your mind and work through what it'll be like when you go back into the hospital for that follow-up scan. Where will you park? What will the hallway look like? How will the receptionist greet you? What clothes will you wear? How will you lie down on the table? What will the machine look like? Slowly and calmly work through this in your mind step by step. The more frequently you do this, the more you're exposed to it, and the less likely it will be a trigger in the future. The second thing that you can do to overcome your fear of recurrence is to share your experience. Being fearful that your cancer is going to come back is normal. You are not alone. Talking about it openly and sharing it, this normalizes the experience. You will not only help yourself through this experience, but you'll help other cancer survivors who are also struggling with the same thing. You can share this with your family, your care team, or on social media with your friends. The more you share about it, the more it normalizes it, and the more you can take away the fear and take the power back. The third thing that you can do to overcome the fear of a cancer recurrence is to focus on what you can control. When it comes to cancer, there is so much that's out of our control. We can't control how we will respond to treatment, or the side effects we'll experience, or how our family and friends cope with our diagnosis. And we cannot control whether our cancer will ultimately come back or not. There is a thought that by having a positive attitude and reducing stress, you can actually help prevent a cancer recurrence. This is unproven and not true. Ultimately, you do not have control of whether your cancer comes back or not. There are things that you can do to strategically lower your risk of a cancer recurrence, but ultimately, it's out of our control. There is so much pressure put on cancer survivors to just have a positive attitude and stay stress-free. But this mindset can cause so much pressure and lead to more emotional and physical stress. Your attitude, stress level, and mindset do not control whether you have a cancer recurrence, but it can impact your daily life. And that's what we want to focus on. But there are certain things that we can control. And focusing on what you can control gives you a lot of power and strength. We know that you can lower your risk of cancer through your nutrition and your exercise. By focusing on these tangible items, we know that you'll be doing everything in your control to lower your risk of a cancer recurrence. That takes the fear away and gives the power back to you. You have a plan. You're actively doing something to stay healthy and cancer-free. And you can start right now by getting your free copy of 15 cancer recovery recipes for women. I've linked it up below so you can get your free copy and get started right now. The next thing that you can do to overcome your fear of a cancer recurrence is to speak openly with your treatment team. We know that women that speak openly with their treatment team and have a good relationship, well, they actually have better treatment outcomes. Having an open and trusting relationship with your care team makes a massive difference. Really connect with them and ask to speak with them. You may want to see your family doctor or your oncologist, but make sure that you have an open and trusting relationship. I know for me, my oncologist knew that I was really triggered by going back into the treatment center where I received my IV chemotherapy. He actually had 2 offices, one in the treatment center and one in a completely different building at a different location. He knew I was triggered going back into the treatment center, so he just got his receptionist to book all my appointments at his other office. Because of this, I almost never had to go back to the treatment center where I had completed my treatment. By having this open and trusting relationship, I was able to navigate my triggers to a much greater degree. The next strategy to overcome your fear of recurrence is to balance your thoughts. So many cancer survivors focus on accepting death rather than living their life. And it's true that death is a natural process for all of us, but we want to focus on what we can do with our time here, how we want to spend our time, who we want to be. By focusing on living rather than death, you can have a much fuller life. Of course, it's easier said than done. It takes practice and commitment. You really need to shift your mindset. And if you want to start working on changing your mindset, I would strongly suggest the book Mindset by Carol Dweck. I'll link it up below. This is a great place to start. Now, the last thing that you can do to overcome your fear of a cancer recurrence, and this is an important one, is to see a therapist. I will always say that 2 people saved my life after cancer, my oncologist and my therapist. We are not conditioned to know how to navigate a life-threatening illness. There is no way that you would know how to do this. So connecting with a therapist who can give you the strategies and tools to overcome fear of recurrence, that's a smart choice. There's nothing wrong with you. You are not broken. This is a normal and natural part of cancer and cancer treatment. Okay, so now that you know the different strategies to help be free of the fear of a cancer recurrence, now we need to focus on the things that you absolutely can control that can lower your risk of cancer from coming back. Things like exercise and nutrition. These things can absolutely reduce your risk of a cancer recurrence. I'm linking up this next video here so you can get started right away. Click the link here. I'll see you in the next video.